Hey, good morning and welcome. This is Brenda Meller, and I'm calling this LinkedIn Live series Enthusiastically Unemployable. I'm delighted that you're here joining me, whether you're here live or in playback. I would love it if you could drop a comment below. And this is being live streamed right now on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and on Facebook. Unfortunately, StreamYard, or maybe it's Instagram, I'm not sure which, but they don't allow for live streaming. So I'm going to get this going live on Instagram right now as well. And just clicking this in the background here. It's a little bit tricky to do it on Instagram. So I've actually got this going on my phone. And let's see if the live broadcast is going. All right, saying checking connection. So fingers crossed. If you are also on Instagram, I'd love it if you could go on to, actually, this is my Brenda Meller. Let's switch this out. Hey, I don't make mistakes. I have learning experiences. And today's learning experience was that I need to make sure which account I'm logged into. I don't know about all of you, but I have a business account, which is Meller Marketing on Instagram. And I have a personal account, which is Brenda Meller on Instagram. Now, the Brenda Meller one on Instagram, I only share with or only connect with friends, close family, that type of thing. My Meller Marketing is pretty much open to the world. So here's what I'm trying to do is this is fun. I'm trying to get this going live. Okay. I think it is going. All right. So if you are on Instagram, I'd love it if you could pop into comments and say hello. We are live streaming now on 4 networks. So I've got LinkedIn on Brenda Meller, which is my public LinkedIn for LinkedIn, right? And then we've got YouTube, which is a public account. I think it says Brenda Meller Marketing. And I'm on Facebook, which is my business page for Meller Marketing. And I'm reaching my new audience, which is out on Instagram as well. So if you're watching, I'd love it if you could drop a comment below and let me know where in the world you're watching from. I see Cyril is watching us here on LinkedIn. I see Chris Bell is joining me on Instagram. I see someone, it says, LinkedIn user, you can see over here if you're watching on LinkedIn. That is either because you have your profile locked down as private, or you have not enabled your third-party settings. A little bit later, I'm going to drop a link into the YouTube video, and I'll also put it on LinkedIn to tell you how to adjust those settings so that you can show people your lovely faces and names on LinkedIn. All right, I see also we have Waleed joining us here today. So if you're just joining us, again, please drop a comment below. Let me know where you're watching from. And by the way, hey, do you know anybody who is a coach, a consultant, or perhaps a speaker or an author? It could be current or maybe aspiring. I would love it if you could tag them in the comments and invite them to join the conversation. And I'm super excited today because I'm going to be talking all about this topic, which is the name of my show. And I'm going to put this in a quick caption running below so you can read it on screen as well. And I'm going to talk about, I need like a drum roll effect. I don't have those fancy sound effects things that some of my colleagues have. Enthusiastically, gotta try to spell it right too. I think you know what this is called, right? But I'm going to put this up on screen. Unemployable. All right. So I've been using this phrase for a while. Enthusiastically unemployable. And when I first say it, I hear some people going, wait, you're unemployed? And I say, no, no, no. Let me say that again. I am enthusiastically unemployable, right? So I want you to think about that phrase, and I want to break it down for you a little bit today and tell you a little bit of the genesis, the creation of that phrase, if you will. I am a former corporate marketer. I guess I'll always be a corporate marketer in my heart and in my mind, right? Because I've gained all of those experiences from over the years. But I was never the type of person who said, someday I'm going to leave corporate America and I'm going to be one of those people. You know who I'm talking about? The people that they left corporate and they started their own business and they're out there doing the thing, being awesome, right? You know what I'm talking about, right? And you're admiring them because you're like, wait, you can go walk your dog in the morning and you can be home to cook your family dinner at night if you want, or even, have meat cereal, whatever. But I admired those people from the sidelines, but I never thought I was one of those people. I was one of the corporate people, right? I had the blinders on, and I had always aspired to move up in my career. And I kind of even thinking about growing up, I was always an introverted heart. I was a good student. I did well academically. And at some point, I think, I don't even know who started bringing it up, my teachers or my friends, or like going to college. Like that was always a thing I was going to do. And, some people, it's a great path to go on. Other people don't go the college route and they go on to be wildly successful. I'm a big believer that you got to figure out what's right for you. But I was always one of those people that like that was the path I was supposed to go on, so I went on, right? And then you got to pick what you're going to be when you grow up, when you're in high school. And I remember at the time thinking international business because I was taking 4 years of German, Guten Tag, or actually Guten Morgen for those people that are listening. I don't speak very well. I do know one poem in German for some reason. But at any rate, international business. I was in DECA, which is a marketing organization in high school. Shout out to my fellow DECA alumni out there. And I took German and I liked business. So I'm like international business. This is what I want to do. Now, keep in mind, this is back in like the early 90s. LinkedIn and social media did not even exist. It wasn't even a blip on our radar at that point. So I went to a business school, a college in my area, Central Michigan University, because I knew somebody who went there. That's why I chose. And I shopped around. I was admitted to University of Michigan. I got a small scholarship to Central Michigan. The practicality in me won out, and I went to CMU instead of U of M, but still go blue for those that are watching. So I pursued a business degree. And when I found my first marketing class, I fell in love with marketing and I changed paths to marketing. And then years go by and I have moved into a corporate marketing career. I've gained experiences in different industries and backgrounds. I'm looking periodically to the Instagram folks so you don't feel like I'm ignoring you over here. And, I got my first job out of college and I always heard that you get your first job out of college to have a job. And then you get your second job to get out of that first job. You know what I'm talking about, right? You're miserable in the first job. It wasn't quite a good fit. You get out of it to find a better job, better paying job, better potential. And then you change jobs again to get out of the second job. And usually it's around like the third or the fourth job that you really are well suited for and you're happy with. And I should probably go back and look and see how many corporate careers I've had. But I think at one point I started realizing that I was staying at every job a little bit longer than the previous. So, for me, it was, I made a move when either I hit the proverbial glass ceiling. Yes, that happened. And I think still happens out there, right? Or I outgrew the company, outgrew my potential, outgrew what the needs were for the organization, or I didn't believe in the future of the organization. There's a couple times where I'm like, this company's not going to be around much longer. I got to get out. My last job was actually for an educational institution, moving into a marketing position there. And I'd always been in marketing, but my love of professional development and my love of marketing, it was just a perfect fit for me. And I spent about 9 years with that organization. Those that know me know the story. There was a leadership change. Leadership change happened, right? You can't control that. Leaders come in and they make changes in the organization. And I was part of the leadership team. I was heading up the marketing function. And they said, we want to go in a different direction with marketing. So you've got 3 months to stay on the position and you can find another job. And, we don't have to say anything. Or if you decide this is not what you want to do, let us know. I gave it a week. I came back. I held my head high. I said, today's my last day. And here's how I want this communicated to my team, to the organization, to the outside world. I want to look at the email before it goes out. And I tried to keep things pleasant and amicable going through the process. I have no regrets about that process. And I moved on. And it was a very emotional week. I'll have to say a very emotional week. At the time, I was already interviewing. Things weren't quite a fit. I knew it. I wasn't finding what I wanted to do next. And the biggest challenge, and for those of you that have had a great job, you'll know this, the biggest challenge is that when you're in a job that you love, it's so hard to find another job that you love, right? Even if you've outgrown that company, or even if the company has outgrown you, it's really hard to find the next thing that you love because it's so rare, isn't it, to be in a job that you love, that you do well in. And I was well respected in the community. I had built up a great LinkedIn network in that time. And I had, embraced social media, specifically LinkedIn. I was doing talks and presentations on it, started a side hustle just because I was starting to get some speaker income coming in with no intention of ever leaving corporate. It was just, this is something I'm doing on the side. It was never an intention. And I remember now looking back, one of my there's a couple instances where the universe was kind of nudging me in that direction. And one is one of my coworkers, Bonnie Bilkowski. I'm going to give her a shout out. If you know Bonnie, go ahead and tag her in comments right now. But Bonnie was like, we were talking about that. And I think I was having a frustrating day. And she's like, you could work for yourself. And I said, Bonnie, you're crazy. I can't do that. I'm not one of those people. And at the time, I was the breadwinner, had higher income. I was carrying the benefits for our family. That was not an option for me. There was no trap door. There was no exit out the back and doing the running off into the green. That was not an option for me. But Bonnie's like, you could do this. And I said, Bonnie, you're crazy. If you're just joining us, we're talking today about what does it mean to be enthusiastically unemployable. I'm telling a little bit of my backstory as we go through here. So I was doing the side, speaking engagements here and there. And basically what would happen is if someone would approach me and say, can you come and train or educate our team about LinkedIn? I would say, sure, if I can talk about the college, then I won't charge you. Or if you don't want me to talk about the college, then, I'll take a day off work and I'll give you my rate. And, half the time I would get paid and half I wouldn't. And it was fine. And I had an LLC set up just for tax purposes. And I remember a meeting with Terry Barclay, who is head of Inforum. Shout out to Terry Barclay. If you know Terry, go ahead and tag her in on comments. We were meeting I think we met for coffee one day. And I was telling her a little bit about this speaking thing that I was exploring. And I started doing at the time some coaching on LinkedIn, one-on-one coaching in my spare time while I was taking vacation days. It was never interfering with my workday. Notice that I have to disclose that I'm not even a corporate employee anymore. And I'm like, I wasn't doing it on company time. I mean, it's crazy to think about that now, but I was doing this on my personal time. I remember Terry saying, Brenda, I have 2 people I'm going to send to you, 2 women I know that could use your help with LinkedIn coaching. And she sent me some referrals and, I was doing some side work and whatnot. And then that day came when the then new president of the organization said, we're doing the restructuring. And, so it was, for me, it was a very emotional experience going through. I didn't see that coming. I didn't see that meeting coming. In retrospect, I probably should have. There were signs, but I had my blinders on, and I was looking. So I'm like, I'm going to get out before anything happens. But, be that as it may, I am glad that it happened in the way that it happened, because I never would have had the courage to leave my corporate job. I never would have had that courage. And I'm going to admit that right now. And I want to give a shout out to any of you who are watching this morning as well. And you might be, that might be hitting a chord with you. You might be thinking, yeah, I am enthusiastically unemployable as well. I am self-employed. And I left because there was a separation between my employer and me. That was not my choice. That might be you too, right? So I want to start with this message of hope for those of you who are going through some career transitions, maybe not by choice. And maybe like me, you were experience rich. At the time, now I have to think about this. I think at the time I was 42. So, still young enough, so to speak, that I could find another corporate job and I can continue to climb up the corporate ladder. My goal was chief marketing officer. That I could have continued on with that path. But I was also experience rich enough that I had gained so many insights over my years and working in corporate marketing, in teaching people LinkedIn, in doing presentations. I had experience in Toastmasters. I just heard myself say, right now. Did you hear that? So I was getting more comfortable speaking in front of groups. I was very comfortable being around the boardroom table with executives. I was very comfortable working with executive clients. And what happened to me is that first week, it was just emotional. I was just crying my big tears and reliving a lot of things and doing the what if game. And, it's kind of interesting at the time because there was some of my very close friends that reached out to me immediately. And then some people that I thought were close friends that never reached out to me. And I think a little bit of that is almost like survivor's guilt. Like they were not let go from the organization. You were, and they have to maintain their alliances with the organization. They don't want to fraternize with the enemy, right? Quote unquote, so to speak. So, and I don't fault them, but then surprisingly, there were some people that reached out to me that we were pleasant at work. I never thought we were close, but they reached out and it meant so much to me that they reached out and they said, Brenda, I loved working with you. I thought you were absolutely amazing. I'm sorry to hear the organization's going into a different direction. If you ever need anything, let me know. And my friend, I have to tell you, those people, that happens to you, those are the first people you reach back to and you say, thank you so much for your kind words. By the way, could you give me a LinkedIn recommendation and talk about your experience working with me in marketing and what you liked working with me, what my results were from working together with you? And I did get a couple of those right away. So you strike while the iron's hot, right? At that point, I had already been interviewing. I think I took about a week off because I had to go through the emotions, right? And then I threw myself out there. I was a professional networker. I was doing the coffees, I was going to the networking events. I was a member of chambers. I re-upped my own chamber membership, I think individually, and started going to as many events as I could. I think there was a digital marketing conference in Detroit that was occurring, and I was planning on paying to go. And I reached out to the conference organizer and I said, is there any way I could attend and help you out in exchange for a ticket to the event? And they said, sure. And I'm like, wow, this is great. So I showed up and I actually got to work the welcome table, which was perfect because there were so many people in Metro Detroit in the marketing community that I got the chance to say hi to. I think at that point it was probably probably about actually 2 or 3 months past my leaving the organization. And they would say, hey, I heard you're not there. And I was kind of dabbling in Meller marketing at the time. And I said, yeah, I'm doing this Meller marketing thing. And it was a quick, like 10 or 15-second conversation. So we didn't go into great detail. And I had to check the next person in at the table. So we would say, well, let's get together at a later date. So it was really perfect. So that's another piece of advice for those of you who have left your corporate role. Get out there, treat your job as make yourself into a professional networker. Whether you're doing this virtually or in person, get out there and stay active. And for me, that helped me to ramp up my business. And at the time, I was not planning on ramping up. I was like, get a job was the plan. And I started getting some side opportunities coming to me. Through my networking, through keeping visible, I would have people say, and they knew this, I wasn't working anywhere. They say, since you have some time, Brenda, since you have some time, can you help me with my LinkedIn profile? Is that something you can we spend a little bit of time coaching? Can you train my team on LinkedIn? Is that something that you do? Absolutely. I had a referral from somebody who worked at an agency who knew someone looking at ramping up their social media presence. And she said, it's not big enough for us. It'd probably be perfect for a solopreneur. Do you want this? And I said, sure. And I signed on my first retainer client. And at the time, I told the individual, I'm only doing this until I find a job. So when I find a job, I will find someone for you to take over. And I want to give a shout out to Howard Davis of Davis and Davis Interior Design. He was my very first retainer client. And I remember Howard was one of those people that he was a great client, a coach, a mentor. But I remember him. We were in a meeting and he said, Brenda, why do you need a job? Can't you make this your job? Like if you were to get 2 or 3 or 4 more clients like me, wouldn't that equate to what you were making before? And I said, yeah, but right. Cause I had corporate America on the brain still. I'm like, yeah, but this is what I've always wanted, was to be a chief marketing officer. And he was an entrepreneur. So he could relate to starting his own business and scaling it up and being successful. And he's like, well, I think you could do it. You have what's in you to make this successful. And I said, oh, Howard, you're being silly. Like me and my waving people off. I did that with Bonnie. I did that with Terry. I did that with Howard. They were all right. They were like the crystal ball in front of me, predicting my future and believing in me before I believed in myself, right? If you are self-employed, you may, this might resonate with you. If it is, drop me a comment and let me know if this is something that you can relate to. Going on your own, did you find people that were your early cheerleaders that believed in you before you believed in yourself? Does that make sense? I had at least 3 of those people. I know there was others, but those were the 3 that are coming to mind. So fast forward, I left my corporate role in middle of August. I enjoyed the rest of the summer with my kids. I got to do the whole back to school with the kids. And I think I baked cookies the first day when they were back to school in the fall, which was totally cool. And was a professional networker, got started with some side opportunities here and there just until I found a job, continued to interview. And I remember, many of the interviews I was going on, I did well as an interviewee. I was a great marketer. I, had a great presence with my resume, my cover letter. I'm not trying to like gloat, but I really did. I took some of my LinkedIn recommendations from my profile and I put them in like the left banner of my cover letter. And I remember it was just like a little snippet of like 2 or 3 recommendations. And I had one person reach out to me, the hiring manager, and he said, I had to call you because I was like, you sounded too good to be true. Like the way that you marketed yourself, you're obviously a phenomenal marketer. I had to talk to you. I don't remember what company that was, but I was so flattered that the person noticed all the effort I put into packaging and marketing myself. So I was getting interviews. I was getting interviews through job boards. I was probably more getting interviews through referrals. So I would work my LinkedIn network when I found a position and try to find somebody who worked at the company to give me a warm introduction. I knew how to make this happen. But what I also found is that remember earlier I said it's if you are in a job that you love, you want another job that you love because you know what that feels like, right? And that was the challenge for me, is finding a place that I could love. I remember working, rather interviewing with one individual, and it was a manufacturing company. I think they manufactured steel or something, but I remember I was meeting with, I think it was the CEO. If not, he was a VP, but he was pretty high up in the organization. And this was probably the second or third interview I'd been on with the company. I think we'd already chatted multiple times. At this point, it was the culture fit. You know what I'm talking about? That culture fit conversation. Can we work together? And he did a tour of the building. And I remember we were on, I think it was the second floor of the building, and there's this ginormous wall, like mural photograph of these big rolls of steel on the wall. And I remember him gesturing. I don't know if it was at a plant or where it was from, but he was like so proud of this, and it was demonstrating the product. And I just like, in my heart of hearts, I could not get excited about steel. And there's people out there that are excited about steel. And I think that's great. That's what makes the world go round, that we can find something that we're passionate about. And I remember leaving that interview, and it would have been a good paying position. And we left on really good terms. It wasn't, I didn't show that, to the person I was meeting with. I left, and he was like, "We'll talk about next steps. You'll probably get a call from HR," which was probably going to be the offer phone call. I don't think there was even, I don't know if there was any finalists. I think we were clicking so well. But I remember coming home and telling my husband about the interview, and telling him how well it went. And I told him about the tour, and I'm like, I just don't know if I can get excited about steel. I mean, I know it's marketing. It's not like I'm manufacturing the steel. I just don't know if this is something I can do. And my husband was like, "You're crazy. We need the money. We need you to get back on benefits again." And I'm like, "I know, but I'm also doing this thing called Meller marketing." And he said, "Yeah, but that's just until you find a job." And that's kind of what it was at the time. And a couple months, I think another maybe a month or so went by after that, and I got more clients. I signed on more retainer clients. I got some more coaching. I think I booked some more team training. At this point, my friends, the scales had tipped. Remember the people that believed in me, the people that had their crystal ball before I did? Now I believed in myself, and I started to look at the potential of my future that was in front of me. I started to realize this expression right here. What does it mean to be enthusiastically unemployable? Now, I had, at this point in my corporate career, I'd been through two career transitions, not by choice. It had happened to me two times. The first time I was part of an organization, it was the headquarters organization. We bought out another company. Okay. So I'm on the side of the company that was doing the acquiring. I am in good shape. We merged. Our headquarters was actually in Toronto. The company that we bought was in the US, which is where I was located. And they were closing our then US office and merging it to the one that we were acquiring. And some people might go, "Brenda, writing on the wall. Can't you see it happening?" I'm like, "No, I don't see it happening," because I was on the side of the company that was doing the acquiring, right? But there was two marketing managers with the organization. Do the math, right? At the time, I'm like, "No, no, no, they love me here. We're doing the acquiring. I'm not going anywhere." And lo and behold, it was about a week before Thanksgiving. This was 2000, I think 2002, because we were engaged at the time. And so a week before Thanksgiving, my manager, it was kind of a weird circumstance. I was invited to a meeting, and then I was uninvited, and somebody in an email copied me on the email and said, "Brenda's not working here anymore." And I think I picked up the phone. And I said, "What do you mean, Brenda?" I said, I'm here at my desk. I'm working here." And she got really flustered, and she's like, "Oh, I'm not sure. I have to go." It was a very, like, I didn't know what was happening. And then not less than a minute later, my manager walked in the office with a folder and asked me to come with her. And I was like, "What's happening?" Right? So I didn't see that coming, and I should have, but I didn't see it coming. So it had happened to me then, and I vowed after that first one, I'm like, never again. And then it had happened to me in another instance, and this was when I had moved up in my career. Later in my career, it had happened again. At this point, if you've had the taste of this happening to you once, is far more than enough. You don't need to be having this happen to you more than one time. At the second time, I was like, "Yeah, I don't know. This is not something I want to have happen." My business was starting to ramp up. I was getting clients under Meller Marketing. And I remember listening to, I was listening to a lot of audiobooks and inspirational talks about entrepreneurship and stuff at the time. And I remember, and I can't remember the woman's name, but she said, when you work for an organization, your revenue potential is capped by whatever their salary rules are. It might be, you get a 1%, 2% increase yearly. You might get an annual bonus. If you work in management, you might get, some other revenue share or 401k or stock privileges or whatnot. But if you make more money for the company, if you do things that make the company more money, rather, that money goes into the company's bank account. You might get a little cut. They might give you a little extra bonus or something like that. But essentially, that is going into their pocket and they divvy out the revenue, right? If you work for yourself, all of that money goes into your pocket, all of it. So, thinking about the salary potential and your income potential, when you are employed by an organization, you have a ceiling above you. When you are self employed, you do not have a revenue ceiling, a revenue cap. You are only capped by your potential, by the value that you deliver to the market, and your ability to match yourself with clients that are willing to pay for your products and your services, and by the time that you have. Those are the things that are, and really, like, it's a mind thing, really, is what it is. Do you believe in yourself? Do you have those products and services? Do you have the ability to market yourself, to even things like raising your prices? I remember when I first started out in doing LinkedIn coaching and consulting. Oh, I can picture her right now. I think her name's Janet. I'm going to look her up and tag her later. But I remember at the time I was doing a 2-hour LinkedIn coaching session for, I think it was $200. And she told me, you need to be charging more. You need to be charging at least double for that. And she was one of my first clients and she was not working at the time. And I said, I'm not taking your money. She's like, no, I'm paying you. And she's like, and you need to be raising your rates. So every time I raised my rates for that individual package, I called her, I would text her and I would say, I just want to let you know, I raised my rates and I booked more clients. And she was like, yes. I mean, she was like part of that process. I got to look up her name. And it was so exciting because when you start to realize your value that you're offering to people and you start to make, that you have a process by which you're articulating that value to your clients and they believe it as well. And it happens, you work with them and they see that firsthand for themselves. And then this is the amazing thing. They refer you to other people. Do you know how awesome it is to get clients that come to you by way of referral? Um, it's not a hard sell because you've already been vetted by somebody they know, like, and trust, right? And that person is probably singing your praises all over the place, that social proof thing, right? That's where I get most of my clients, by way of referral. So it's really amazing. And, you know, I use this phrase, enthusiastically unemployable, because if you follow me, you know that this is part of my personal brand. My enthusiasm is a part of my personal brand. So when I reached the threshold of getting enough clients on and realizing I was not interviewing for jobs anymore, I can't even remember what the exact day. I remember it was in the beginning of December of 2017. Remember my husband, he would get like Google alerts for marketing jobs for VP of marketing and whatnot, and he would send them to me. And I remember one day he sent me a job alert for, it was like a VP of marketing for some sports organization. And I am not a sports person. I go to the Tigers games for the experience and in socialization, but he's a sports person. I'm not. So he sent me this job. And at the time I had already kind of committed to staying on my own. I didn't tell him, yet. And he sent me this job and we were in the same house, right? And I emailed him back and I said, sounds interesting. Is this something you're thinking about applying for? And he's like, no, this is for you. And I said, well, I already have a job, Meller Marketing. And he said, well, yeah, that's just until you find something. And I said, yeah, about that. I'm not looking anymore. This is a real thing. And we had a heart-to-heart sit-down discussion about it. And I give him some grief about it still to this day. Because I say, remember when you didn't believe in me? And he always says, it's not that I didn't believe in you. I was just really worried about the money. I was really worried about, it's almost like you're living on commission every month. And you don't get paid unless you make the sales. There's no safety net, right? When you are self-employed, there is no safety net. Well, maybe there is if you built one up for yourself before you left corporate. You can also build up a safety net in the way that you manage your finances. I read a really great book. Let me see if I can find it in my bookshelf right behind me. Hold on, I'm going to step out of camera. Tammy Pereira was the person who told me about this book. I'm going to give her a shout out. If you know Tammy, go ahead and tag her in on comments. The book is called Profit First. It's written by Mike Michalowicz. Now, I am a marketer. I am not an accounting person. When money came in, I had a bank account for Meller Marketing, and I had my own personal account coming in. I really didn't know how to manage my expenses for my business. It was like money would come in, money would go out. I was tracking things on an Excel spreadsheet. I didn't have QuickBooks or anything yet. And Tammy was telling me about this book, and she's like, it's a way of managing your money. And the whole philosophy, it's kind of like an envelope system, if you're familiar with that. So as money comes into your business, you divvy it out. And I think 5% goes into a profit hold account, which is where the name comes from, Profit First. 50% goes into your owner's equity. So that's your paycheck. So every dollar you earn, 50% you get to keep. I think 20% goes into your operating expenses, which are things like insurance and subscriptions and things like that. And then 25% goes into a tax hold account, because when you're self-employed, you don't get tax withholding anymore. So you have to pay taxes, right? So, and then come tax time, you have this tax hold account that you pay out of your taxes. So it really, it creates almost like a no-brainer way of managing your business. And you increase your expenses in points of time where you have more money coming into your business, and you contract your expenses at other points in time. Now, the profit hold account is used for your fund money. You can use that for whatever you want. And your owner's equity, or your owner's compensation rather, is your paycheck. So, but there's no limit on what you can earn. Whereas in a corporate job, if you are paid annually 60,000 or 100,000, that's the maximum that you're going to earn for that year. So I really liked this opportunity of going into business for myself and not being limited by income. That was really, really appealing to me. That was one of the reasons I decided I was going to stay self-employed. Another thing was this whole concept of a safety net that a lot of us think about leaving corporate America. And even like back to the conversation with my husband, the fact that when you are self-employed, you're always chasing after your next paycheck. You're working essentially on commission, is the way that he said it. And then you have to pay for insurance and things like that. Well, once you earn enough to pay for insurance, that's not an issue anymore. And we actually looked at where we were at the time. He was working a full-time job. I had a life-changing experience happening. I was no longer working for corporate. So now we were eligible to sign up for his insurance benefits on his employer. So we got that box checked. And there were points in time he was a contract employee that he didn't have full-time benefits. So we went to the marketplace. We found a health insurance broker to shop around for us. And we actually got better benefits through the health insurance marketplace than we did through his contract house. So once you make enough to pay for that, that was not an issue. Now, I do have to insert a caveat there. We don't really have any major medical issues or anything. So I know for some people, they need really good insurance because they're going through cancer treatments, or they have ongoing illnesses or whatnot. So this approach may not be best for everyone. For us, it worked, right? And for me, once we got the income box checked, I was getting in enough money. The insurance box was checked. We had that covered. Then it was just, now what do I want to do with this business? And it was really just amazing to think about. I controlled my future. So if you are thinking about this whole concept of leaving corporate, or maybe, starting a side hustle and ramping it up, um, you may be enthusiastically unemployable someday too. What do I mean by this phrase, enthusiastically unemployable? Enthusiastic. That means I love the work that I do. I love the fact that I have freedom. I love the fact that every morning I have a new routine, which involves taking my daughter to the bus stop, taking the dog for a long walk. Sometimes I have to cut it a little short because I've got some client calls, but I go for a walk every day in the morning. I now set my meetings between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. Sometimes I make exceptions, but probably 95% of my calls are done between 9 to 3 so that I can be available for my kids to chat with them after they get home from school and not have a commute anymore, right? I don't have that commute anymore. So enthusiastically unemployable, I think you have to love not just the scenario, the lifestyle that you've created for yourself, but you have to love the work that you do. In the beginning, for me, when I first created Meller Marketing, I kind of had three buckets: social media management, social media strategy, and social media management. And at the time, Howard and I had a few other clients. I was doing four networks: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. I was posting and managing, doing community management on their behalf on those four networks. So that was one arm of my business. And I would also help with social media strategy and page evaluation and setup and a bunch of things because I had that from my corporate background and I was very comfortable being online. So that was one category: social media strategy and management. The second category was marketing strategy. So I had this great corporate marketing background and I could work with organizations to create a marketing strategy and implement a marketing plan for them, working with their in-house team that maybe didn't have a lot of bench in marketing, right? So that was an offering that I did. And a small offering at the time, my friends, was something called LinkedIn, right? It was LinkedIn strategy, LinkedIn coaching. But I remember when I first left my corporate job, I didn't want to put all of my eggs into the LinkedIn basket because I didn't want, like, what if LinkedIn, what if the bottom fell out? What if LinkedIn went away? What would I be? Right. And I was really nervous, even though that was like what I was so passionate about. I did not want to put um, all of my services and all of the promotion behind my business in LinkedIn. So I waffled because that's what we do when we first start our business. We're like, we take anything that comes in, any client that will pay money. If we can do it, we will do it. And there were even things that I did at that time, like website launches. I had launched my own website through Wix. I had clients that needed help with a website launch. Yeah, I can do it for you. And I would charge, I don't know, $1,200 or so, enough to cover my time. They would pay for, their web hosting and all of that other stuff. But it was like, it was money that came in, right? And it's really hard to turn away. If you would say, yeah, I do that and it's $1,200 and they would say, okay, it's really hard to turn that away, even if it's something that you're not passionate about, if you're ramping up your business. So I did that. I did a little bit of everything. And then I started realizing over time, like social media management, it was, do you guys remember that commercial, the time to make the donuts guy? Time to make the donuts, right? The Dunkin' Donuts guy. He would get up every morning, time to make the donuts. And I think in the beginning of the commercial, he was enthusiastic, time to make the donuts. And by the end of the commercial, he's like, time to make the donut. He was like half awake, right? And for me, social media management was like that. I knew what to do. I could do it with my eyes closed. It just wasn't fulfilling. It wasn't rewarding for me. And every morning I started thinking about time to make the donuts, right? So I stopped taking on new clients. A couple of my ongoing clients would, they would like either bring it in house or stop, social media management. And I started ramping up my speaking business. And I have to give a shout out to, oh gosh, Grant, and I'm blanking on your last name, the Speaker Lab. If you guys know who that is, tag him in on comments. But I enrolled in his Speaker Academy course. I started reaching out. I started finding opportunities for speaking engagements. Speaking can be a very lucrative business. And, I was getting booked for gigs, for paid gigs. I became a national speaker. This was later on in 2019, coming into 2020. I was winding down on my social media management offerings. I had told many of my clients that I was not continuing in that service offering in 2020. So I started winding them down. I was ramping up my LinkedIn speaking engagements. I had, my highest revenue months ever. And I made the decision the year of 2020 was going to be the year of LinkedIn for Meller Marketing. Lo and behold, the year of 2020 also ended up being the start of a global pandemic, which really dried up a lot of the speaking circuit. And the remaining social media management clients I had at the time had to pull back on their expenses, as did many businesses. They had to do layoffs on staff and other things. So that business dried up for me. 2020 was a bit of a roller coaster, I have to say. But you know what? I was never afraid. I was never afraid because I knew if I kept myself visible throughout the pandemic, I would bounce back easily. And what I did at the time is everything was the speaking engagements were basically done. Everything was put on hold. We didn't know at the time. Remember that? It was like only 2 more weeks, only 1 more month. And then at some point we're like, is this forever? We don't know how long this is going to be, but so many things that were delayed and moved. They just canceled entirely and they said to be redetermined at a later date. So I started realizing this might be like this for a little while. Okay, so what do I need to do? I need to keep myself visible. And I'm a big believer in this whole concept of social media karma, paying it forward, being a change that you want to see in the world. So I had access to LinkedIn Live. I think I just got it in the fall right before. And I started doing a LinkedIn Live every day, Monday through Friday. I would reach out to people that I knew in my network. Either their businesses were struggling or, they were just people that I was fascinated by. And I would interview them and broadcast their interviews on LinkedIn, giving them visibility. Word got around and people started asking to come on my show. And because I was going live every day, Monday through Friday, I built up a great following. Thank you to all those people for that experience because that got me comfortable being on this side of the camera, interviewing people and ramping up my LinkedIn Live series. So it was a great experience. And over time, some of those interviews and the visibility those interviews created led me to book more business. I started to get more virtual coaching appointments. I started to get virtual events and presentations, right? And things ramped back up. It was definitely a roller coaster. I definitely had some soft months. I don't like to call them bad months. I like to call them soft months. My income was soft, very soft in a couple months of 2020. But I pushed through. I believed in myself. I never once during any of these times thought maybe I should go find another job. Because you know what was happening on the corporate side of the world during that time is companies were going through a lot of changes and transitions. They were doing layoffs and people started getting let go from organizations. There was not a chance in the world I wanted to leave what I had to go back to an organization and worry about that risk for the future. So I didn't. I stayed the course. I pushed on through. I even launched some initiatives to help the job seeking community. I did a LinkedIn for Job Seekers webinar series that's now involved into a course. So I'm having a lot of fun. So, going back to our topic here, what does it mean to be enthusiastically unemployable? To be enthusiastic about this, that means you are passionate about what you do. You love the work that you do, you love the clients that you serve. You love the other side of this is the freedom, the lifestyle that gives you. You love the fact that you are no longer capped on your income earning potential that is only set up here, if you will, right? So to be enthusiastically unemployable, it means to be enthusiastic. You have to be passionate about this. Being an entrepreneur is not for everyone. Being a coach, a consultant, a speaker, an author, that takes drive, my friend. It is not for everyone. But if you have an inkling, you can definitely do it. The other part of this equation, I'm going to point to the word right now, unemployable. What does that mean? That doesn't mean I can't get a job. It means I don't want to be employed by another organization or another person. Now, clients contracting with me, that's not employment, that's a contract. So that's a little different. But unemployable, it doesn't mean I can't work for a company. And it doesn't mean I haven't been approached. I have. I've been approached over the past 6 years for employment opportunities. I've been approached by recruiters. I've been approached by friends who are hiring managers, who are heads of organizations. And, even a couple of my clients have said, what would you think if we brought you on either part-time or full-time? And I've always said, no, I'm not interested in that path. And I even was joking with my husband the other day. I'm like, there is no amount of money that an employer could offer me that would cause me to leave what I have here in Meller Marketing to go back and work for corporate America. He's like, no, you would. $500,000. I said, nope. $1 million. Nope. Do you know what this feels like, my friends, to be able to free yourself from I don't want to say the chains of corporate because that sounds negative. I really did love working in corporate America. I loved my career. I loved all the experiences. All of my experiences have led me to where I am today. But I love the fact that I'm on the other side of it now. I love the fact that I have released myself from thinking that there is only one path. There is not one path. There are many paths. Corporate is one path. Entrepreneurship, being a coach, consultant, speaker, author, that is an entirely different path. It is 100% possible for you to be successful and to be enthusiastically unemployable. So, as we wrap the conversation today, I want to let you know that my LinkedIn Live series for 2023 is going to be all about this whole category of being enthusiastically unemployable. I'm going to be interviewing coaches, or rather people who support coaches, people who support and help to inform and educate us, either coaches, consultants, speakers, and authors. So if you know somebody who serves those communities, and I'm going to put that up on screen right now here, coaches, consultants, I have to type and talk, consultants, speakers, and or authors. You know somebody who serves these communities, who works with coaches, consultants, speakers, and or authors. I'm not looking necessarily to interview someone who's an author, but if it's an author who helps other people to become authors, absolutely, I want to talk to them. Or maybe like me, it's someone who serves all four communities. What I do is I help business professionals get a bigger slice of the LinkedIn pie. I do that by helping coaches to ramp up their LinkedIn presence to create their company pages. I do the same for consultants. And consultants, some people may be working but starting a side hustle. So they're starting to slowly ramp up their LinkedIn presence. So I support consultants in that space. Speakers, there are people that do that as a side hustle or as a full-time, that's their full-time gig, is being a professional speaker. I work with speakers. I myself am a speaker. I'm going to a conference later on this week and getting back on the national stage again. Very excited about that. And I also work with authors, people who have books and are looking to market their books through their LinkedIn presence. So that's something I do, but I don't want to just be me. I want it to, well, I want to be me. But I want the series just to be me. On my series, my Enthusiastically Unemployable LinkedIn Live series, I want to interview people who support the community of coaches, consultants, speakers, and or authors. So if you know anybody, please tag them into comments below, or maybe share this video along with them afterwards and mention that Brenda is looking for people to interview. Now, I will be honest, if it's somebody I know, I will probably book them, especially if I've heard them speak. If I don't know you, I will do a preliminary discovery call first to make sure that you are a good fit. I want to make sure that this series is going to be beneficial for everyone and I have the right people on the show. I've got a pretty big LinkedIn network, so I want to make sure that when I'm shining the spotlight on you, I'm bringing the right people in and that we're targeting the right individuals in there. All right, what I'd like to do now is I want to open this up to audience questions and comments. I'm looking off to the side here because I'm still on Instagram Live as well. If you missed the beginning of my broadcast, I was talking about the fact that through StreamYard, which is an excellent service, by the way, I have the ability to broadcast to 3 networks. Instagram is either not allowed or they don't make themselves available. I'm not sure which. Maybe somebody knows and you can tag in comments and let me know. But at any rate, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on YouTube, and I'm on Facebook with the live stream, and the playbacks will sit there later. But Instagram, I had to do on my phone. So I've got a separate session that's going out on here. So I'm going to pop into comments right now and see who else I may have missed in here earlier. I see Ari was joining us. Thank you so much. I see Laura from Ohio. Ashwin was watching for us. Let's see. Cyril, I saw you coming in. Nice to see you, Cyril. Can you tag yourself? What do you mean, Ari? Can you tag yourself? If you remember, I'm looking to interview people who inform and educate coaches, consultants, speakers, and authors. So what do you do? What's your service? What's your business all about? Tell me that. I'm not looking just to bring on people who are in those categories, but rather that speak to and that help those communities. So if that describes you, then perhaps we should tag. We have Allison joining us from Metro Detroit. Ashwin, I love this. Unabashedly, enthusiastically unemployable, right? I love that. Cheers to you as well. So Cyril gave a shout out. I'm guessing this might be somebody that Cyril that you think I should interview. Let me know if you could in comments. John is saying you're temporarily in Sarasota. Cyril may remember me. Oh, so you guys know each other. That's great to see. Kevin D. Turner. Hey, Kevin. Kevin is a fellow LinkedIn trainer and coach. And by the way, huge shout out to Kevin. Kevin will whenever there's a new LinkedIn feature that goes out, Kevin will post and talk about it. So if you're not already following him, go and follow him. And if you invite him to connect, make sure that you tell him that Brenda sent you, that you heard him from my show here today. Scott Boudreau is on here. Scott, you got a pretty long statement. I got to do, this is like the Wilson from Home Improvement. I got to stand a little bit higher than that on here. And Scott, I think, is looking for a new job. So be sure to check him out. LinkedIn user, I'm not sure who this is, but thank you so much for tagging in Terry Barclay. I think this is a tag because it says Terry Barclay, she, her, hers, which I believe she has in her name field. I counter, a fellow Toastmaster, high five to you. I try to avoid those verbal pauses that we have, the ahs and stuff like that. In Toastmasters, they have a role that's called ah counter. They count up all of those verbal hiccups that we have in our speeches, and they give you a report at the end of the meeting. So it causes you to become more conscientious of saying that. So thank you for saying that. I was reading the next comment saying, love this, love your spirit, and high five. Love you too. Thank you for watching. I am so glad that you're loving this interview and discussion here. Not even an interview, kind of like a solo interview. I don't know. Aisha is watching us here today. Good morning. And I am delighted that you are joining us. I know you're really big into nutrition, which so many of us need. Aisha, you would be so proud of me. I've got a green smoothie. Let me get a little sip right now. So I've got milk, Greek yogurt. I think about what I put in here: frozen bananas, frozen spinach, and a little bit of peanut butter in there. Got my protein going. So that's my breakfast for today. Joan is watching us here. Good morning to my good friend Kenneth Lang, who is a fellow LinkedIn coach. Kenneth specializes in working with job seekers. He does a LinkedIn live show, I believe, Tuesday at 1 p.m. So be sure to check him out as well. Joey Himmelfarb is joining us. Hey, Joey, nice to see you. I see Dawn online joining us from Maplewood, New Jersey. Joan Smith. Oh, good. I'm so glad you're liking it. I'm having a blast today. So this is a lot of fun to share the story about being enthusiastically unemployable. Let's see here. Mike Michalowicz. I think somebody was saying, who is Mike? I dropped off for a minute. And I held up this book earlier. He's got a tricky last name, but Mike Michalowicz, this book, Profit First. I think I listened to it on audiobook first, and then I bought it because I wanted to have like pictures of the charts and stuff that he talks about. But yeah, he's a great guy. I'm trying to get him on my show. I don't know who's managing his LinkedIn account. We are connected now. And I asked him if he'd like to come and be on my show, and he's not responding. So I think his inbox is being monitored. I'm going to keep trying, because if you don't ask, the answer is no, always no, right? And I'm hoping to maybe leverage the size of my network to try to get him to come on, because I think that would be amazing. I've learned so much from him, and he's helped so many entrepreneurs. Susan Bristol. So Susan's joining us from YouTube. I see her little, the red YouTube symbol up on screen here. So it's delighted to see that you're watching from another network. Let's see who else do we have on here. Stacy Murphy joining us from Connecticut. Isn't this kind of like the Good Morning America thing when you see people behind the celebrity, host on the TV show, and the people holding the sign saying, "Hi, it's Stacy from Connecticut," right? It's kind of cool to see your name coming up on screen, isn't it? Vicki, you are so kind. Vicki saying, great conversation. I call you the light for the unemployed. I have a passion for working with individuals who are in career transition, helping to teach them about the power of LinkedIn. Every Friday, we have a VIP job seekers group. If you want to come out, you're welcome to join us. Go to mellermarketing.com/Friday VIP. And let me put that into comments right now, just so everyone who may be unemployed watching this and thinking about, going on that path of finding another job, you can come out to our Friday VIP job seeker office hours. Let me add this up on screen. So you can go to mellermarketing.com/Friday VIP every Friday from 10 to 11 Eastern. It's free to attend. It is also broadcast on YouTube. And I would highly encourage you to follow my YouTube channel while you're on there. So thank you for the mention of that. Let's see who else we have on here. I think I got through most of you, but I want to give you guys all shout outs. So let's see here. Aisha said, thank you. I have to go. Thank you for watching. Appreciate it. Let's see. Throw in some chia or flax seeds. Really? I think I have some chia. I think I bought it and it's in the cupboard. So I might put that in. So that's extra protein, fiber, and nutrients. Okay, good to know. I'm going to check that out. I've also started reading a little bit more about keto diets lately. So I'm getting a little bit more nutrition aware, so to speak, on those types of things. All right. With that said, I want to thank you so much for watching. I hope that you have learned more about this whole topic. I'm going to try to put this back up on screen here again. About this whole concept of being enthusiastically unemployable. I want you to know that there is a definite path for those of you that are thinking of being self-employed. I have a lot of thoughts on this. And in fact, I'm actually going to be writing a book. I have a list of notes for an outline about a book about being enthusiastically unemployable. I've got a lot of them swirling in my head. You heard some of them here on the show today, but I want to help to inspire those of you that, maybe like me, never thought this was a path that could be possible for you. Maybe you're in the middle of trying to decide this for yourself right now. Do you want to stay self employed? And if so, how can you make it successful? How can you get it to ramp up? Or do you want to stay in corporate, right? And some of that is almost like, I remember for me, it was going through almost like I had to accept that that life was no longer a path for me. And I'd always thought it was the path I was going to go on. So it's almost like you have to grieve your corporate life and then accept that there is an alternate and even better path for you out there. That's where my path has led. And now I feel I'm in this place that I want to give back and I want to help and inspire others. I'm a big believer that there have been people that have pulled me along, that have raised a hand out to me throughout this journey. And now I owe it to you, to all the others that are coming behind me, to raise a hand back and to help to lift others through the process. My name is Brenda Meller. I am enthusiastically unemployable because I love the work that I do. I love the freedom that is created for me and for my life. I love helping my clients. And I love the fact that I can be successful even after corporate America. I look forward to seeing more of you on comments in future shows here. And again, I do invite you to tag in others who might be interested in on this conversation. With that said, let me just drop this right on here. If you enjoyed this discussion, let me just put this up on screen as a little reminder as we're finishing this off. When you're doing this piloting and co-piloting, it's a little bit challenging sometimes. All right, there we go. So if you enjoyed this discussion, why does it say tag Laura Khalil? Laura was my last guest. Let me just tag Brenda Meller on here. Okay, let's try this again. There we go. All right. Hey, if you enjoyed this discussion, I want to ask you a favor. First thing, before you leave, make sure you give this a like or a comment, even if it's just a comment with an emoji, like an applause or something like that. That way, I know that you watched. Immediately after watching the video, you're going to see you have the ability on LinkedIn to share it out. I think you could even share it out on Facebook as well. Please share it along. Tag someone in that might be interested in learning more about this topic, or you could even message them the link to watch this post again. I look forward to seeing you every Tuesday, and we'll be here at 9:05. I'll be doing a combination of self-talks like I did today, and I'll also be interviewing some really awesome guests coming up in 2023. I want to thank you so much for making the time to join me here today, and I look forward to seeing you on LinkedIn. I do have a little outro video that I want to add in here real quick too. I'm doing a little multitasking right now, and I want to just get that uploaded real quick. I love doing an intro and an outro on my interviews because it helps to smooth out the rough edges that are created when we are live streaming. You ever notice that sometimes people are like, is it on? Is it off? Okay. The intros and the outro videos smooth those things off a little bit. All right, here we go. Here comes my outro video, and I will see you guys all on LinkedIn. Have a great week. Stay safe and stay healthy. And remember, you too can be enthusiastically unemployable. Take care, everyone. Thank you.